Now we're going to be talking about two more women's basketball games because I have not even talked about any college basketball games for men or women. But how entertaining women's basketball is, this particular game was the most entertaining one out of all of them. The rematch of LSU versus South Carolina with higher stakes and tension between the two teams. South Carolina wins in a dogfight 79-72 to win the SEC championship, and Dawn Staley's Gamecocks, after losing everyone last year, remains as the only undefeated team in college basketball, male or female basketball. However, a fight broke out between LSU and South Carolina after LSU guard Flau'jae Johnson pushed a South Carolina girl, causing Kamilla Cardoso of South Carolina to push Flau'jae Johnson to the ground. Tempers flared and everybody on both benches got ejected. Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey had two different responses to the fight, but South Carolina handled it well and pulled out the W. This is South Carolina's 8th FCC championship title in the last 10 years. We're going to pull up the box score. So the X factor for South Carolina, obviously on the bench, was Malaysia Fulwiley with 24 points off of the bench. Those were key 24 points that she had. Then you had Tahina Pow with 10 points, Raven Johnson 9 points, Kamilla Cardoso, even though she got ejected, with 8 points, Chloe Kitts 6 points, Bree Hall with 9 points, and then LSU, Angel Reese had 15 and 13, but it didn't feel as though Angel Reese was really playing too good. Naja Moreau had 19 points and 10 rebounds. Flau'jae Johnson, 13 points, who was averaging 23 points in a tournament. She only had 13 points. Haley Van Lith had 14 points, but overall it just felt as though, yes, Angel Reese had a double-double, but it didn't feel as though Angel Reese really played a good game. It just didn't. Flau'jae Johnson averaged 23 points. She only had 13 points. But it felt as though early on in the game, LSU was finna come out and give South Carolina a run for their money. It felt as though South Carolina was going to get a run for their money from LSU. They already beat LSU earlier in the season, and based off how LSU came out in the game, it felt as though LSU was finna come out and give South Carolina a run for their money. They could have potentially won the game. But South Carolina and Fulwiley won the game, 24 points. That is key. That was key for South Carolina off the bench. And this game had a whole lot of tension, a whole lot of trash talking. We knew that LSU and South Carolina, the best two teams in the SEC, there was going to be high tensions. LSU, they lost on their home court to South Carolina. So we knew when the SEC championship came, we knew it was going to be these two schools, South Carolina and LSU, in the championship game. We knew LSU was going to come for blood. And that's exactly what they did the whole game. It was already tension between Angel Reese and Cardoso. This was the whole game, battling the whole entire game. Angel Reese got a flagrant foul early in the game. Like, we knew that there was going to be tension between the two teams. And the refs let it play out. The refs knew that there was going to be high emotions through this game, throughout this whole entire game, and they let it play out. They let the women talk. They let the women talk trash. When Fulwiley did the too small, didn't give her a take, they didn't do none of that. They let these girls play. And it's really showed the heart that they have. Now, at the end of the game, when the fight broke out, was that necessary? No, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary at all. That was not needed. But the trash talking and the heart that both teams played with, because they really wanted to win. LSU hasn't beat South Carolina in a long time. South Carolina always beats LSU. So if you know that a team has never beat South Carolina in so long, this is South Carolina. They're the only team in men's or women's D1 ball that is undefeated. They're going to try and come at them, especially if they lost on their home court to South Carolina. So we knew that LSU was going to come out striking, come out with bad blood. They're not scared of South Carolina. They were going to try everything in their power to try and win the game. But LSU let emotions get to him. They let emotions, all the flagrant foul by Angel Reese, and just certain foul calls. They let emotions get in their head too much. South Carolina played calm all the way until the end of the game. It was calm. South Carolina played calm the whole entire game, except for the fight. LSU was in their head too much. LSU was emotional the whole entire game, and they let their emotions overspill, and Flau'jae Johnson got frustrated, and that's what caused everything. They knew that they were going to lose, and Flau'jae Johnson took out all of that emotion. But if they would have stayed calm like South Carolina, if they would have just let the game just play the game. It's all about the game at the end of it. Yes, you can have emotions, but you got to learn how to control your emotions in regards to when you're playing a game. You can't let your emotions get to you. And that's what happened with LSU, and that's how they lost the game. Because they came out striking, but their emotions got to them. Their emotions got to them the whole entire game. And when South Carolina, when Fulwiley came off the bench, scored 24 points, and everybody else came to play, they were stopped. Angel Reese, even though Angel Reese had a double-double, they didn't feel as though Angel Reese was really a dominant factor in this game like she was. They shut down Flau'jae Johnson. She didn't play as good. South Carolina was calm the whole entire game. Now, Cardoso will be missing the first half of the first round in the tournament. But other than that, everybody else is still going to be there. They're still going to be there for the first round, and nothing's going to happen to them. They're still going to be the first seed, but they easily could have lost this game if LSU wasn't in their head. If they didn't have all this emotions against them, if they would have just let the game play. But that didn't happen, and Dawn Staley and South Carolina remained undefeated, and they took care of business. Now, I want y'all to hear both viewpoints of when the fight happened, because when the fight happened, that was crazy. The game was delayed by 20 minutes. Flau'jae Johnson's brother came on the court, which I feel as though he should not have done. Like, I get that when you see that your sister is getting into a fight, instantly you're going to jump into brother duty. I get it, but that's not your place in regards to the basketball game. I get it. It's natural instincts that you're going to do that. But you have to realize that that's not your place. What are you going to do? You're going to get on the court and hit girls? You're going to fight girls? What are you going to do? You can't do that. It's not like it's a dude or whatever. You can't do that. That's not his place. So I feel as though he should not have got on the court. And yes, he saw Flau'jae get pushed down. I get it. But that isn't your place. Then you have to push a guard in order to get on the court, and now you're charged with assault and battery now. You got escorted off the court. It was way worse than what it needed to be on your end. I get that you're the brother, but that's not your place. I get it, but it's not your place. I understand, but that's not your place back then. It's not your place. So I want y'all to hear both Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey's viewpoints on the whole entire fight.
No one wants to be a part of that. No one wants to see that ugliness. But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8", don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those two girls that were jawing, let them go at it.
And then this is Dawn Staley's viewpoint.
I mean, what you saw were two teams, highly competitive teams. Try to win a conference championship, and they did not handle it well. Our players didn't, their players didn't, and it escalated. And I want to thank the officials and everybody that jumped in and just kind of calmed the situation down. And then the penalties were what they were, like. They were well within the rules of ejecting the players that left the bench, even if they just stepped over the line of the bench. You have to sit there and keep your composure. But I'm going to say this. Flau'jae came to me right after the game, and she just apologized and said she's not that type of player. And I really appreciate that. It's something that somebody won't ever hear if I didn't say anything. And she's not. She's a really good person, things just got escalated. I'll take responsibility for what happened from our side of it, which is we don't, you know, we talk about these things as a, as a team, and we try to, as much as possible, express to them how not to react in those type of situations. But real time is real time. And I know that, anybody, Kamilla, as well as the other 4 or 5 players that were ejected, I know if they had a chance to do it all over again, they would do it differently. But now we have that. I just don't want the people who are tuning in to women's basketball see that and think, that is our game, because it isn't. Our game is a really beautiful thing. And to be quite honest, this is a part of it now. So we have to fix it and we have to move on.
Now, she handled it with class. She already knows that she let her player get her emotions get the best of her. But she ain't come at the press conference, media, or none of that. So I feel as though both of them have 2 different viewpoints on it. Obviously, if you watch the after game press conference, not the press conference, but when they get interviewed, she was saying that, she let the emotions get to them. That's not what South Carolina is. That's not what they represent. That fight is not a representation of South Carolina. So she handled it all with class. Now, Kim Mulkey, yes, we know that she's right in regards to you don't fight into someone that's, smaller than you. But I personally feel as though that ain't nothing that you say. You don't say that to the press conference. You just don't. Those are certain things that she don't say, and she doesn't even get held accountable for it. And I feel as though that's wrong. First, if this was a dude and a dude said that, a coach said that, he would have got held accountable for it. If Dawn Staley would have said that and she ain't handled the situation with class, she would have got backlash for it. I feel as though we need to hold Kim Mulkey accountable. That's something that you don't say. Yeah, that may be true. Yes, she should have went after Angel Reese. She should have went after Angel Reese. But personally, I feel as though that's nothing that you say to the media. You don't say none of those things on the media. That's something that you just know that she should have done. Something that you don't say. South Carolina, great team. Undefeated. Crazy. Undefeated. With an entire new starting 5. Go undefeated. LSU still had a good season. And I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams, South Carolina or LSU, meet again for the 3rd time. And it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Overall, I feel as though South Carolina would beat them. But on paper, with Angel Reese, Haley Van Lith, and all the girls that they have, Flau'jae Johnson, everybody that they have, LSU has the talent to beat South Carolina. It's just discipline and emotions that will not let them beat South Carolina. I would take South Carolina 10 times out of 10 over LSU, just strictly based off of their discipline and strictly based off their emotions. If they just play a game against each other and LSU doesn't let their discipline or their emotions get to them, and they stay disciplined, remain disciplined, they could beat South Carolina. It's not like they're losing by 20. They lost by 7. But there's certain things, a flagrant foul, 2 shots in the ball, things like that, foul calls, fights with 2 minutes left to go in the game, things like that. The game isn't over. But you're getting in your head. You're getting these emotions get to you. You're letting emotions get to you. You're not staying disciplined like you're supposed to for start to finish of a basketball game. You're supposed to. I get this is a rivalry, but you have to control your emotions in a rivalry and don't let them get the best of you. And since LSU can't do that, and they haven't been able to do that, they'll forever lose to South Carolina every single chance they run into them. This is 100% on LSU. It's not like LSU cannot beat South Carolina. I feel as though talent-wise, they can beat South Carolina. But discipline and emotions will haunt LSU beating South Carolina or any team. I feel as though both teams will make it far in the tournament. But if they play each other again, I wouldn't be surprised if South Carolina beats them a third time. Because they're more disciplined and they can control their emotions in games. Versus LSU. So this is a good win for South Carolina, beating them again, winning 8 SEC championships in the last 10 years. LSU, you got to get your emotions together. Got to get your emotions together. Got to lock that in. Got to tighten that up. Because you cannot have those type of emotions going into March Madness. You just can't. You can't have those type of emotions. And if you let those emotions get to you, you can get bounced. If you don't remain disciplined, you can get bounced no matter what team it is. A team could be less talented than you, but if they remain disciplined and can control their emotions, they can beat a team at any given day. Any given day, a team can lose. So LSU has to tighten that up, or it's going to be some problems.